It was always Thunder in 7, and Oklahoma City got a big one in their style. A Game 7 win over Denver. The Thunder defense showed its championship caliber.
You are Locked On Thunder, your daily Oklahoma City Thunder podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Let's get it going on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, media member, and beat writer for Thunder and SI, Rylan Stiles. Follow me on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles. Follow the show on Twitter at LOThunderPod. Email the show, LOThunderPod@gmail.com. On today's show, brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. We're talking about the Oklahoma City Thunder getting a Game 7 win in the Paycom Center to advance to their first Western Conference Finals since 2016 over the Denver Nuggets, just as we predicted before the series began. This was an impressive game from OKC because it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows despite the end result. When you watch the beginning of this first quarter, it kind of looked like the nightmare scenario. I mean, Aaron Gordon had an and one bucket to put them up 11, and Aaron Gordon had been toughing it out through this grade 2 hamstring injury that I have no idea how he played through, and you tip your cap to him for playing through that injury, just like you do Michael Porter Jr., just like you do this whole beat-up Nuggets team. But the Nuggets were the team that was bringing the level of intensity needed to win a Game 7. They were just amazing on the glass, outworking Oklahoma City. They were hitting more shots than the Thunder were. The Thunder could not hit wide open threes. And again, losing those hustle points, at the start of this game to get down 11 with the defensive lapses of like backdoor cuts and second chance points and all the different ways that Denver was creating that lead. You thought, okay, well, here it is. This is a young team, and you kind of know which way this game is trending. And then the Thunder settled in and showed you great maturity. They showed you who they've been all year. All year, this team has been an anomaly. This team has done things that young teams are not supposed to do. This team has been a historically great defense, and all those things bared out in this game because the Thunder had a great close to the first quarter to trim that lead down to 5. And then the Thunder make an adjustment, leaving Shai in the game to start the second quarter and take the lead for the first time at the start of the second quarter, and then put Shai back on the bench to steal him some rest, which I thought was a masterful job by Mark. We'll talk more about that coming up. But after the Thunder get control of this lead, that was all she wrote. There was a couple more ties in there, but past that, it was Oklahoma City who ends up getting the extension of the lead heading into halftime, up double digits, and then blew this game out of the water at one point, going up by 43 points, but maintaining vast control of this game from the third quarter on, even though Nikola Jokic plays the entire third quarter and Nikola Jokic fought his guts out, but the Thunder were able to really make life hard on him. He took 9 total shot attempts. The best player in the world in a Game 7 took 9 total shot attempts with 11 free throws to boot to tally up to a 20-point outing, which is not what you expect Jokic to do in a Game 7, not to mention his 5 turnovers. He had 7 assists and he had 9 rebounds. So Jokic was just not granted opportunities in this game because of the Thunder's defense. And this is where it all starts. How do you correct a laboring half-court offense in the midst of the postseason? You can't go make roster moves. You can't completely overhaul your identity. You can make minor tweaks, but you can also just don't play half-court offense. Get out and run. Get out in transition. And that's what Oklahoma City was able to do because they were tight in the rebounding category, and we mentioned how they started out so poorly in that category, but they end up 47-44 in Denver's favor, and they were wide in the turnover category where the Denver Nuggets turned it over 22 times in a Game 7 to Oklahoma City's 9, and the Thunder were able to get out and run with 27 fast break points. The Thunder regrouped on the second chance points, which was Denver's way early, ends up 19-14. And the Thunder dominate points in the paint, 64-42. A lot of that in transition, but a lot of that was the minor tweaks we talked about with the half-court offense of SGA and Jalen Williams and these guys playing with more offensive force at the rim. and really attacking Denver and going up stronger and being able to finish around the rim better in a series that they've had some struggles finishing around the rim, and the Thunder were able to do just that. I thought that their ability to respond to a lapse to start the game showed you great growth, and it showed you why this team continues to buck the trends. The Thunder held Denver to shooting 39% from the floor, 22% from three, and 77% from the free throw line, while OKC shot 49% from the floor, 30% from three, and 79% from the free throw line. Why was Nikola Jokic denied the basketball? Why did Nikola Jokic only shoot one field goal attempt in the 12 minutes he played in the third quarter? Because he quite literally could not get the ball. The best player in the world could not get the ball because as he went through this series, and this has not been a banner series for Nikola Jokic. He's had a loud game 1, a loud game 5, both in losses. He's been game 6 was awesome for him. He's been able to get to the box score that you want from him, but it's been a really tough track to get there. His most efficient nights, in my opinion, were game 5 and game 6, deeper in this series, as he figured out the Thunder's double big lineup, as he figured out the J-Will curveball. And in game 7, as he's in game 6, the most comfortable he's been all series, in my opinion, in game 5 as well. Game 7, the Thunder go to a heavy dose of Alex Caruso. And Alex Caruso lived inside Nikola Jokic's jersey. He just never let Nikola Jokic touch the basketball. Yes, he was all over him. Yes, he was smothering him. Yes, he was swatting at him. Yes, he was frustrating him. No complaints over here. I mean, that's the way you have to play. That's the way that it takes to win a game 7. And the Thunder being able to harass him at the catch point is what's been able to turn in these blowout wins. What did we talk about after game 2 and now after game 7? Is that style of play against Jokic sustainable? No, but why is it not sustainable? People are going to talk about how the Thunder have figured out Jokic. They have not. The Thunder have gotten the benefit of, you got 2 blowout wins in this series because 2 different officiating crews had different lines, a line of demarcation of what constitutes a foul and not when you're contesting for the basketball on entry passes. And that's the big difference. If you have to stop Jokic, you have to have the combination of the two. You have to have the players who are willing to put their bodies on the line and play extremely physical with this giant, like you have in Cason, like you have in Caruso, like you have in J-Dub, like you have in J-Will, who didn't get to play today, but still has been that all series. You have to have that, and you have to have an officiating crew who's not going to call every ticky-tack foul. And that's what the Thunder got the benefit of tonight, and that's out of their control. All they can control is the physicality of which they play with. And if it would have backfired on them, it would have backfired on them. But this officiating crew saw it differently. And so, yes, they hounded the ever-loving crap out of Nikola Jokic, and you could call 1 or 2 plays a different way. But ultimately, that's the only solace Denver can take, is that maybe Caruso accidentally swatted Jokic on the wrist and it would have been a foul away from the basket. Okay, sure. But guess what? The Thunder put him in jail, locked him up, and won game 7. I mean, it's all over but the crying in Denver. And they've cried all series long, and this is a 68-win team with a historically great defense that went out and won this game. That's what it is. They went out and took this game because you weren't saying anything when the lead was 11. You weren't saying anything before Alex Caruso got into the ball game, and Alex Caruso gets in there and he makes change happen. So don't give me this stuff about Caruso wasn't effective on Jokic. He absolutely was. Do 29 other teams or 28 other teams have Caruso? No. Did 28 other teams have guards to play underneath and physically and stand up to him trying to back you down the way the Thunder do? Absolutely not. That's what makes the Thunder such a unique matchup for Jokic specifically. Does that mean it's sustainable? It is not, because you get into an area where you either give away fouls and thus can't play that aggressively, or refs call ticky-tack stuff and you can't play that aggressively. It's the same thing as game 2. You never apologize for winning. You never apologize for stuff out of your control. It's not in your control of how the refs dictated this game. You went and forced the issue. You went and forced the refs to not call it that way by setting a tone of physicality. And that's what you want in the sport of basketball. You want physical play until it happens against your favorite team. Then all of a sudden, you want ticky-tack calls. This is just what life is. The life is, when you play against the Thunder for 48 minutes, you are going to be harassed. You are going to be just absolutely punked defensively. I mean, they are going to make your life just miserable. And they're going to get foul calls. They fouled a lot tonight. And they were called for 19 fouls. Denver got to the line for 22 free throws in a game in which they just outright quit. Like a game that they outright quit in a game 7. Because like we said, one field goal attempt from Nikola Jokic in the third quarter. You just could not get the ball. But you look at the first half, and it was 16 free throws to 5 for Denver. So the free throw thing got tighter because the game was a nothing burger. But when the game was in the balance, Thunder got called for a lot of fouls. Thunder didn't care. Thunder still made the best of their opportunities. And Alex Caruso deserves a lot of credit for how he defended Nikola Jokic. And that's the best player in the world. And that's a guy who you cannot stop. You need a lot of luck to go your way to stop him. And you need a lot of luck in general to win a championship. That's why I've always been against title or bust being the line for success. Because at the end of the day, you need a lot of luck. What happens if Aaron Gordon is healthy in this game? What happens if MPJ is healthy this whole series? We'll never know. We'll never know. You can cry about it. You can write songs about it. You can do podcasts about it. You can write articles about it. We're never going to know. What happens last year if the East is healthy? We're never going to know. What do we do know? The Boston Celtics are NBA champions from last season. What do we do know about this series? The Thunder won this series in 7 games. That's all we know. And the Thunder did it by going out and taking this game 7 at home against the championship battle-tested Nuggets team, their first ever win against a competent quality playoff opponent. And they got it in a big game 7. We'll talk about SGA. We'll talk more Alex Caruso. We'll talk J-Dub and so much more coming up on today's show. But first, I want to say right now, but good friends over at Monarch Money, go check out Monarch Money today. Because if you've ever checked your bank account and wondered where did all my money go between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is not just a budgeting app. It's complete control of your financial command center. It tracks your accounts, your investments, your spending all in one place. So you stop just managing your money and start building your wealth. It's an all-in-one convenience. It essentially just eliminates the need to juggle multiple apps. You can use Monarch and check your finances, track your spending, and even plan for your long-term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. I'm your host, media member, and beat writer for Thunder on SI, Rylan Stiles. Follow me on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles, where Nuggets fans will surely have their day in the sun. But the Oklahoma City Thunder win 125-93 and punch their ticket to their first Western Conference Finals since 2016. And they did it because of Alex Caruso changing the tone and tenor of this game. We gave him a lot of props for how he handled Jokic. He had some fast break buckets as well, with 11 points under his belt with 3 steals in his own right defensively. But just the overall calmness that he brought to a game, he settled down the Thunder. He had the first big play that energized the fans where he forced that travel on Christian Brown. And all of a sudden the fans went from a tense, nervous, pins and needles, sitting on your hands approach to just going bonkers. And he kind of carried that momentum with him throughout the game. And he made energy-giving plays both for his teammates and for the fan base. And he talked about how whenever I asked him post-game what he learned about this team, how he thinks that this team's gotten better, he talked about how they've gotten better with their mental fortitude. You saw it tonight, of they're in a different spot now mentally, of where they can, where they can take the punches, frankly. And they took a haymaker out of the chute, and they were able to respond. So shout out to Alex Caruso, who was every bit the reason of why you go trade for him. And everything that we said about him in the summertime came true. Everything we said about this team in November, how they go on these avalanche-like runs, came true tonight. A lot of people got upset whenever I compared them to the Golden State Warriors, and it's different avalanches, right? The Warriors were the sexy, fun, three-point shooting team that it was easy to see those avalanches. With the Thunder, you blink and you miss it because their defense in the span of 2 minutes can just blow a game open with turnover after turnover and getting you out of the sorts. Because it's easy. Once you start to turn the ball over, it's easy to press, try to do too much, and get out of sorts and get disjointed. The Thunder forced 22 turnovers. Some of those were unforced, just pure discombobulation from the Denver Nuggets. It's like the Thunder did a good job of keeping that pressure up and letting Denver feel that pressure and make their own mistakes just as well as the Thunder forced them into mistakes. SGA, he was every bit the part of an MVP. He was every bit the part of a number one option on a title team. 35 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, 1 block. 3 for 4 from three, all of them timely makes from SGA. 63% from the floor, 8 for 9 from the free throw line. His control of this game and command of this game when the ball was in his hands, you continue to see him gradually get better at that. You continue to see him grow with this team in that way. But that's the recipe. Like, if this team's going to win a championship, you need Shai to have this level of command over his troops. And the Thunder did a good job of extending him in this game. It's not going to show up in the raw box score because it got out of hand, but starting him in the start of the second quarter after playing him the whole first quarter, that's a great move by Mark to understand that Jokic is off the floor. You can completely erase that 5-point lead and then kind of let yourself sit back down as kind of a nothing game where it's at least tied or you've gotten a slim lead and you can kind of reset, so to say. But Shai comes in, does his job, a quick 2-minute burst, gets the Thunder the lead, and he sits down for 2 minutes and then comes right back in. And J-Dub the same way. He only sat down for like 2 minutes, came right back in. And they just were rarely ever off the floor with their number one and number two option because they were producing so well and because they knew what this game needed. But Shai in particular, like, this is the leader. This is the face of a franchise that won 68 games, had a historic season, had the best point differential in NBA history, yada, yada, yada. That could have been out in the second round again. That could have been viewed as a disappointment. A guy who could have been collecting his MVP award from home. And when that pressure is there, and Shai admits postgame he was nervous, when that pressure is there, it's easy to try to take it over. It's easy to try to do it by yourself and forget that this is a team sport. Then when your teammates are missing open shots and everyone in the building, like no matter if you are the biggest Thunder homer in the world and you have your Thunder socks on every night, everyone in the building thought, okay, here we go. Here we go. These guys can't hit their shots in the big moments. These guys might not be ready for this stage. Everybody's feeling that. And for Shai to have a level-headedness about him as a playmaker, I think is what you're seeing be overhauled in his game, of the ability to trust your teammates when things aren't going good and you want to take control of the game entirely by yourself. That's a rare trait, because it would have been totally explainable for Shai to just have tunnel vision and Shai to want to get all this back for his own sake. But he kept trusting the process. He kept trusting his teammates, and they rewarded him for it. And they were able to help him out in this game. And one of the biggest things he made, I mean, only 4 assists tonight, but it was J-Dub that had 7. The Thunder's offense in general did a much better job of punching the gaps in the zone defense the few times that Denver could set up that zone, because the Thunder were not taking the ball out of the net every single time to inbound it. So Denver rarely got to set up their zone. But whenever they did, the Thunder punched the gaps really hard and were quicker to the rim before Denver could settle into that zone defense. And then the Thunder's playmakers, Shai and J-Dub especially, they were much more calm probing the lane to where they weren't looking to pass first. They weren't looking to pass last. They were just patient. And that patience allowed them to throw lobs to Chet Holmgren and find backdoor cutters behind an ailing Aaron Gordon and behind this zone defense and take the defenders up to them in the mid paint. And that was an adjustment to get behind the zone defense that the Thunder made, and we talked about all series long. And to their credit, they did it in the biggest spot, in the biggest moment. It led to 10 points from Isaiah Hartenstein, 13 points from Chet Holmgren, mainly as play finishers, 5 assists from Cason Wallace. He was another one that did really good at that, and Alex Caruso reading the floor in transition, as those two guys were as playmakers. But I thought that SGA had his fingerprints all over this game and came up big, as did Jalen Williams. J-Dub had one of his worst box scores of his career, especially on a big stage on Game 6. Well, what did I say after the game? This is another victory lap. I get to take a lot of them today. After the game, the box score was messy. The box score was something that was a sight for sore eyes and only a mother could love. But the process, the decision-making, the shot attempts, it's all stuff you wanted to see from Jalen Williams. It was all stuff that was improved from that Dallas series. And we said the same thing after Game 5 and Game 4. He had a mega game in Game 3. Game 2 was kind of irrelevant because it was a blowout game. He had a good game, but it was a blowout game. It's like, for a lot of this series, he's been doing the right stuff. And today he got rewarded for it. Sure, did he make a living in transition? Absolutely he did. A lot of those he began with tap-out rebounds, and he had the steal, and he ran the floor very hard. A lot of those he created. So yes, he made a living in the transition opportunities to where he didn't have to do a ton in the half court, but he hit a couple timely threes. He made great processing decisions with the ball whenever it got swung to him. He had one where he shot fakes and brings the defense in, kicks it to the corner for Lu Dort for a three. Lu Dort missed that one. He also had one where the ball skipped to him in the slot, and he just, without even thinking about it, gets it, touch pass over to Lu Dort in the corner for a wide open three. Lu Dort makes that one. And then also in the half court, he was able to get to his spots comfortably, using his shoulder to rise up at the elbow and cash in a mid-range jumper, getting to the rim at will, playing with more force like we talked about after game 6. And then the shot that I think summarized the series perfectly, he had this great dribble in 2 steps in from the three-point line, rise up at the nail, throw up a shot, hits the back iron, goes straight up in the air, comes straight back down inside the net. And it's like the ball bounced his way. That's a clean shot. That's a shot that you want J-Dub taking. That's a shot that took a shooter's role to fall, and he wasn't getting the shooter's role. And that's why I felt confident talking about his growth in a day that most people wanted to just berate him. Like I thought that he had great growth and the ball did not bounce his way. And we now have the receipts to prove it. We now have the game to back it with 24 points in this game, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, 1 steal. And the reason why you blew this game out, like in that second quarter, J-Dub had 17 of his points with a steal and 2 assists and shot 72% from the floor in that second quarter. Like Jalen Williams was awesome, and it was a great response by him in another spot where he's never been here. He's facing immense pressure. This was the biggest game of his life because it's a game that in one fell swoop, this is still a messy box score. Even when you calculate in this game for J-Dub, you will never remember it that way. You'll remember the game 7, and he wiped it all away. And he doesn't face now a summer of questions and a summer of chatter that he would have faced had he duplicated game 6. It's like he deserves a lot of credit for standing up and having a game like this one, as does Cason Wallace, as does Mark. Mark deserves a ton of credit for this game, and I think that his coaching style in this one bared out to have an A+ performance. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. Here talking about the Oklahoma City Thunder. Make sure you check out Locked On Nuggets today. Make sure you check out Locked On NBA today, both with Matt Moore. Make sure you check out Locked On NBA Game Night with Swipe a Can from Locked On Nuggets, like a lot of Nuggets content from Sunday and Monday, as well as Locked On Thunder. We're going to have for you another recap of this game because there's so much to dive into, preview of the Timberwolves and a crossover with Locked On Timberwolves. Hopefully, shout out to Ben, by the way. I don't know if I can say this on the pod, but he had a very fun family event, let's just say, over the last week. So shout out to him, and hopefully we get to connect and do a Locked On Wolves crossover. Now, we oftentimes dive into coaching performances in losses and like nitpick and pour over what went wrong for teams. And often in wins, you get swept away with the emotion of the win. You get swept away with the result. But Mark, in his first ever Game 7, coached a flawless game. The decision to go to Caruso first off the bench, to me, it felt like it was an understanding of, hey, Jokic just kind of figured out the J-Will thing. And all due respect to J-Will, J-Will has been awesome this series. He's given you more than you could have ever imagined pre-series than he would have given you. You thought pre-series, at least we did. We talked about him as an X-factor pre-series, but we mentioned it in a vein of like, if you get in foul trouble, maybe he can knock down a couple shots and makes you feel good when he's on the game. But in this series, ultimately, he's been an awesome defender on Jokic for his time being, but Jokic had figured him out. And the Thunder switching up the look on Jokic again was a great move. And I think that it did get Jokic out of sorts a bit and get into his own head a bit in this Game 7. So that was a fantastic decision. Mark's ability to do that and to go to Caruso also opened up the ability to play your very best option, which is Chet at the 5 by himself. We can talk about the double big stuff, and we've overanalyzed it a ton since February 7th. The very best version of this team, defensively and offensively, is still against matchups that let you play Chet at the 5. He's an elite rim anchor. You have the versatility and switchability to defend everything and shut everything off on the perimeter defensively. And then offensively, it gives a half-court offense that can struggle at times, the spacing that they need to where Chet's more comfortable as a scorer, but also it trickles down, or up in this case, I guess, to SGA and J-Dub, who are way more comfortable driving the lane with only one center on the court. And you saw that bear out in this game too. So like that was a two-pronged decision from Mark to put Alex Caruso on Jokic and have it work, and to stick with it was awesome from him. We mentioned the SGA rotational change. This is a guy who deserves credit, because if he didn't do this, we'd be talking about it the other way, right? If he didn't change SGA's rotation, what would we be saying? Oh, he was too stubborn. He wanted to play his style. No, like this is a guy that loves to go deep into his rotation. He loves to kind of be rigid, I guess you can say, in some senses, of like, he likes to do the whole play the first quarter entirely, play half the second, play the whole third, play half the fourth. He loves that. In this series, he's been willing to adapt. You've seen him take out SGA earlier on in the first quarter to play him at the start of the second quarter. Tonight, he understood the moment of like, let SGA play all 12 minutes in the first and then keep him on there for the second to execute that plan that we talked about of getting that lead back for the Thunder and then getting him some rest while Jokic was still resting after OKC had the lead. But then he's right back in there when Jokic is back in there. Like he did a great job changing that rotation, and he won't get the credit for it because you won't remember it the way that you should probably. But in reality, this team played their starting five, and then they played Wallace, Caruso, Wiggins. That was it. And really, they played their starting five, and then they played Cason and Caruso. Now, I will grant you the Wiggins stuff because he played 20 minutes. Like, he only played 8, and he trusted 7. People have been waiting and wondering, when will Mark do things conventionally? Today was pretty conventional. And he was willing to change. He didn't live and die by 10, 11, 12 men rotations. Now, when you reflect on this game years from now, you will see that Gingrich got, 8 minutes and AJ got 8 minutes and like J Will got 8 minutes. Like, but that wasn't real minutes, with all due respect to those guys. So Mark did change his philosophy. He changed his rotational strategies with Shai. He changed the matchup on Jokic. I think that he deserves credit for the Thunder, like we talked about, playing better against Denver's zone and getting the ball behind the Denver zone better than they have all series long. So I thought that it was really good from Mark, and he deserves a lot of credit for that. And the fact that they can now get away from this series. We'll talk about this all throughout the next 2 days as we preview the Timberwolves series and then after game 1 to see if we're right. But I do think that this opens the door a ton for more solo center minutes, which is where they're at their best. And I think that the Minnesota matchup allows that to happen as well. But Cason Wallace, I don't know what else you need to see from him to put him into that 16-game player list. From the defense to the offense, it's all there. He's a great play finisher offensively with some on-ball juice, like as he continues to develop throughout his career. And then defensively, he's the definition of a defensive playmaker. He just really, really is. So this whole team is littered with defensive playmakers. Like J-Dub makes fantastic plays. The best defensive play of the night to me was one that I think will go under the radar of just, there's a double screen for a Murray 3 on the left wing, and Lou Dort is going to ramrod into a screen. Now, Lou Dort, notorious for getting over screens and fighting through screens and drawing contact on screens and drawing illegal screens. So it would have been easy for J-Dub to just sit on his hands and say, well, Lou's got it. Lou can get over that screen. No, J-Dub reads it perfectly, makes a beeline for Jamal Murray, and forces an air ball 3. That's the level of intensity and awareness that is required to win a game 7, and J-Dub brought that on both ends. Caruso brought that on both ends. Cason Wallace brought that on both ends. Like, these guys brought it tonight, and they really stood up. And now they have to go take this into the Minnesota series and take this into the Western Conference Finals, where you're one step closer to your ultimate goal. You've made it one step further than this core's ever made it before. You finally beat a quality playoff team. And that's a great benchmark for this Thunder team. It really is. I thought that Lou Dort's defense was excellent. He was only a +3 in this game. He only played 18 minutes, and the Thunder were willing to go away from him even whenever they had chances to go back to him. And I don't say that as an indictment of Lou. I say that again as praise to Mark and praise to him for, the third quarter really benefited OKC to run away with it on the scoreboard. And yet, Lou still plays just 6 minutes because he found his lineups that work. And he trusted himself to let that lineup play, where it's like, it's J-Dub playing a ton, it's Shai playing a ton, it's Cason playing a ton, and then you had the Caruso, Wiggins, and Chet variations. That's also a testament to Lou in a positive direction, and to Hartenstein, who didn't start the second half. Caruso did in his place. That's a testament to those guys in that locker room of like, it's not just lip service. What you hear all year long about there being no egos, about these guys just wanting to do whatever it takes to win. There is none of that when those minutes are cut, because Lou played 18 minutes. So did Isaiah Hartenstein. And nobody thought Isaiah Hartenstein had a bad game. Like, Lou was still there defensively where you needed him to be, but he shot 1 for 5 from 3. Like, you need him to shoot better. He missed open shots early, and the Thunder were quick to react. And really, the whole team never got back on track from 3. The whole team shot 30% from beyond the arc, and it would have been worse had you taken out like the 1 for 1 from AJ, the 1 for 1 from Isaiah Joe in garbage time, who also got cut out of this rotation in meaningful minutes. But the Thunder just found a way to win, and that's what Game 7s are. It's just finding ways to win. Nobody plays perfect basketball in a Game 7. This was the closest thing to it that you can get. Just like Denver had the closest thing to a perfect Game 7 against the Clippers last series. So they've been on both sides of these Game 7 blowouts, if you will. But OKC should be extremely pleased with this result. And so should Denver, honestly. Like, Denver fought all series long. They showed you that they're not far away. Listen, watching Denver pregame, I get there extremely way too early, honestly, for pregame warmups and stuff. And watching Deron Holmes go through 3-on-3s with assistant coaches, I had him high on my draft board for a reason, folks. I had him top 15 in my board for a reason, folks. He's awesome. He looks awesome. He looks the part of the exact backup that you need behind Nikola Jokic. And that right there is an instant help to a roster that was right on the precipice of another Western Conference Finals bid. We mentioned that, like, what happens if Gordon is healthy? What happens if Porter is healthy? That is an instant boost to your roster if you can get those guys healthy at the end of the year next year that you didn't have this year. David Adelman is the coach. He is the coach. I've loved every interaction I've had with him. I asked him questions today about if role players do play better at home, and he gave a very thoughtful answer. We'll have more on that at Thunder and SI. But it's like, you have your coach. Holmes is going to be a big boost. You pray. Every team just prays that they're healthy at the end of the season. They need to continue to make moves on the margins of this roster, but they have the stuff at the top to go win a championship. So it's like Denver, from all the adversity that they fought through over this last month and a half since you fired Mike Malone, you tip your cap to them. You took a 68-win team to the brink. That's awesome. So it's the rare series where I think that both teams can walk away feeling pretty good, feeling as encouraged as you can if you're Denver for whenever your season ends, but nonetheless, like, feeling pretty good. And now it's on to Minnesota. It's on to the old Timberwolves. Again, we'll have previews galore with local people, Locked On Timberwolves, myself, getting you set for Tuesday. Quick turnaround. OKC not going to have the rest advantage this time. So for those of you that believe in rest versus rust, this is your time to shine, because they're not going to have the rest advantage for the first time under Mark Daigneault. For the first time with this Thunder core, they will not have the rest advantage heading into a series. How will that factor in? Find out on the next podcast, which will be in a few hours from now, because we're going to be doubling up on pods since the quick turnaround lets us into Game 1 of this Western Conference Finals series. Until next time, be good and be good to one another.